Why do a lot of top agents burn out? And how and what do we do to actually perform at a higher level? So let me ask you something. Why is it that some agents can go really hard for 30, 60, even 90 days and they're closing deals, they're building momentum, everything's going great, and then they completely fall apart or just kind of disappear? It's because they're in burnout. They disappear and then they have to start all over with building that pipeline and that business back up. And maybe if you're honest, you've been there before too. I definitely have. There's a book called Peak Performance, and one of the biggest takeaways in this book is that high performers don't just work harder. They work in cycles. And what does that mean? So the first core concept of this is stress plus rest. So here's the truth most agents don't want to hear. Growth only happens when you stress yourself and you recover, not just one or the other. And so it's both of them combined. So if we're putting ourselves just in stress, we're not actually going to have growth. So when you're in that push season, lead generating, setting appointments, negotiating, growing your business, that's stress. And that's definitely necessary to grow a sustainable and predictable and profitable business. But if you never come out of that cycle, you will not become elite. You will not have the business you desire. You need a break. This is what I see all the time. Agents go all in, they're making calls, they're showing houses, they're writing offers, they're doing all the things, but they're not sleeping nearly enough. They're not doing thinking time, they're not stepping back and reflecting, and then they wonder why their performance drops off. Like, I'm working 24/7, I'm working more than I ever have, and it's not because you're not capable, but maybe because you're not actually putting yourself into recovery. And I know one thing that he talks about in this book is if you don't leave work at work and take time, you will have a hard time really being able to recover and be highly productive. And it's because you're not recovering. The second concept is deliberate practice. So what does that look like? This one really matters if you actually want to grow. Most agents aren't practicing. They're just performing. They're showing up for their appointments. They're not prepping. They're not reflecting on it. And there's a big difference. Practice is where you get better and performance is where you get paid. So if all you ever do is perform, you'll plateau. So how do you know if you're doing this? If you're having the same conversations with clients that you were having 2 years ago, if your listing presentation hasn't evolved or improved, if your objection handling is, I'm gonna hope and wing it, and whatever objection they have, I got it, you're not in growth mode. You're in maintenance mode, you think you've got it figured out, and the reality is the industry is constantly changing. The third core concept is the growth equation, and the book breaks it down simply. Stress plus rest equals growth. But here's how I want you to think about it in terms of real estate. Prospecting plus reflection, appointments plus skill building, closings plus recovery. That's how you build a business that actually scales without breaking you. So here's the real question. Are you building a business or are you just surviving from deal to deal? Because those are two very different things. So here's some applicable framework. I want you to try this week. Pick one push time, 2 to 4 hours a day of focused, intentional work. No distractions. This is your income producing activity time. Number 2, schedule recovery. And this means actually schedule it. It needs to be time blocked on your calendar, whether it's thinking time, workouts, family time, rest, and absolutely no scrolling on your phone. You need real recovery. And 3, add one practice block, role play, script work, reviewing your last interactions, getting feedback. That alone will separate you from 90% of agents. Look, peak performance isn't about going harder than everyone else. It's about being more intentional than everyone else. It's about understanding that your energy, your focus, and your growth, those are your real assets in your business. So if you want to build a business worth owning, stop chasing constant hustle and start building a rhythm you can actually sustain. Jordan Fried says, if you healed, what hustle would you quit today? Because the agents who win long term aren't the ones that go the hardest. They're the ones who last the longest. Look at the top agents that are crushing it, that have that time with their family, that have that work-life balance, and you're like, how do they do it? And I'm working so much more, and they're accomplishing so much more than me. It's because they're very intentional, and they block the time, they practice, And what's so cool is you can practice with AI now. You can script and role play without having to embarrass yourself with another person. You can say, here's the objection I got at my appointment last night. Help me role play that. Here's my listing presentation. Here are the last 5 objections I've gotten at a listing appointment. Help me incorporate that into my presentation. There's so much we can do right now, and a lot of us are just working more hours, never turning off, and we're setting ourselves up for serious burnout. If you haven't listened to Peak Performance or read it, I highly recommend picking it up. And at the very least, I hope you do these 3 activities. Have a great week.